Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam
Alhamdulillah.
wa rahmatullah.
Good to be with you. I now have in my consciousness the beauty of the space that you dwell in,
Alhamdulillah.
and it looks even more beautiful from this perspective
Yes.
now. Alhamdulillah, I'm really happy for you in that space. I really, really am happy for you in that space. Alhamdulillah, because it's a whole different mindset. Just being in an environment, but yeah, enough of that. What's up with you?
You know, being grateful, consistently being grateful, always taking in this beautiful change of the season.
Hmm.
This spring, summertime, it just, I mean, and the moon has been showing out.
Oh man, I said it this morning. I said it looked like a lamp. It's
Oh
like,
my God. I
it's
thought it was a street light.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, wait a minute, it's quite awfully bright. It's in an odd space. And so you look through the window in the blinds because, it'll be a little reflection. I
Right.
was like, wow,
Yeah.
like it,
It's,
it has been this past couple of days. I mean, it has been really showing out.
it's
And I was like,
luminous.
mashallah, like it's just beautiful, just
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
So,
Like you, my dear. Like you, my dear. So I'm a
alhamdulillah.
step back and let you do you, boo.
Yes, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa
عليكم السلام ورحمة
rahmatullahi.
الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum to our Wealth Creation Preservation family. And I am so happy that we have made it here again for another week, another opportunity to share and explore thoughts and to ponder these wonderful blessings that Allah has given us, being here on another day, entering into this spring season, all of the good things. Today, as always, I always had a couple of things in mind, but even prior to coming onto this call, the thing that kept coming up for me was like this ideal about, faith in the mustard seed, right? The biblical term that is utilized. And, I get curious about like when certain terms are used, like, in the Bible, why did it say mustard seed? I was like, mustard seed. Like it could have chosen any kind of seed. Any seed could have been chosen, right? And it's like I have been on this hunt to, as a student of Imam Muhammad Rahimahullah, it's like look at the science of a thing. So I have been on the hunt to really understand the science of this mustard seed and like where do I find this parallel around faith, right? Especially within in our space within the year of the Quran, we had a whole conversation around faith, and that just popped up in my head. And in this moment of the season, which is a season where growth is happening or blossoming and bloom, and the butterflies are coming out of the cocoon in this season. These are all of the things that are happening, and I'm still on the hunt, and and I like the adventure of exploring the idea. But the few things that did come up was this idea that something so small creates something so huge. Like it's a very large tree plant. Like when you plant a mustard seed, it births or grows a huge vegetation. And how something so small can make something so big, right? And is when it is grown, it's like the roots go deep, like they go very, very deep, and it's very difficult to uproot. It's a difficult plant to take its roots out. So it's like just from those just basic little, you know, pieces of information about the mustard seed. And as I grow and expand, inshallah, I will discover, new information. And this thing about like learning is that sometimes we can come across a piece of information, and this is all that our body has the capacity to understand in the moment. And if our body only has the capacity to understand a certain amount of information, is because your capacity has to expand in order to receive more. So what I just shared is what I have right now, and I'm hanging on to that and expanding my capacity to learn more, to understand more. And it is this idea that faith has to go, it's within, it's deep within, right? It's deep where you have to, I am all about the self introspection, right? That you're like, where is it rooted in? What is your faith rooted in? Is your faith rooted in something that is temporary, or is it rooted in something that is forever? And is it rooted in Allah? Is it rooted in this way of life? Is it rooted in Allah's promise? Like, what is it? Because that is what will keep you anchored, what you hang on to, right? That's the rope you hold tight to, right? And it's in those moments where, how do we get an opportunity to test it or be tested with it? And it is those opportunities and those moments that allow us to kind of really sit with ourselves, where, it's not about being, dealing with disappointment. It's not about, dealing with sadness or grief. It's about, okay, we talked about the fire last time. It's about like this moment where some things have to burn or, you know, go away in order to make room for that much more, right? And so when we trust in the process of the release, that it's something real, a simple token or simple act of being oneself and being kind and being genuine and moving with integrity can give birth or give life to something huge and foundational. But what is it rooted in? Is it rooted in your faith in Allah? Is it rooted in your belief? If it's rooted in those things can hang on tightly, even when the weather and things are like got you swaying one way or another. It can still anchor you in the truth of this can become something huge. So how do we envision that big idea? How we envision what changes, this small investment, whatever it is that you may be investing in, this small time that you take to study. I had an experience today. I started an Arabic class with ILI, and I am, I hope I never get to a place where I stop being surprised about my intuition. I want to always be surprised. I want to always have that moment where it's like, oh man, like, because then you value it. Like when it shows up, there's a value to it. Now I know that intuitively, I have a strong intuition. I'm grateful for it. It has moved me along in big ways. And my word this year, like every year people have their resolutions or their vision boards or whatever. I always sit with myself and I see what word comes up for me every year. And this year's word was righteous risk. And I am sitting in the midst of reminding myself when those challenges come up. I go, this is that year of righteous risk, where it's like you let your faith lead the decision. Like it might seem like a small, just let your faith lead the decision. And so I say that to say, I have been having this inkling, like when I started this job that I'm on now, I was normally getting up early morning, like before Fajr. That was just always a part of my regimen because it was time for me. It was my me time. My family, we drinking on that Organo Gold coffee. It's a part of the morning ritual, right? And so I have my cup of Organo and I turn on sound frequencies, I pull out my journal, and I'm just like, what needs to come out of me today? What is it that I need to write down? Or I just sit in the quietness and the stillness of the day where I am grateful, or where I get to reflect, or that's my time. And when I started the job, the time kind of inched a little bit, into my 5 o'clock. It kind of started to become a 5:30 or a 5:45, especially if Fedger was, in those later hours. And I kept saying to myself, girl, we got to get back on our regimen, and it wasn't happening. And then I was like, then I started to do it again. Then I was like, you really need to get up at 4:30. Like, you can get up at 4. You need that much more time because of this new schedule. Give yourself some more. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Meanwhile, my body would be waking myself up before the alarm clock anyway. And I'd wake up, see the clock. I'd be like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I got more time. And I'll lay it down, go back to sleep, because I'm thinking about my day schedule, right? As opposed to recognizing we talked about sacrifice today. There's so many thoughts going on right now because, this is my time and moment to share with the community these thoughts. But the sacrifice, I was like, okay, we're going to sacrifice some of this sleep. Not saying that unhealthy sacrifice of sleep. It just means I got to go to bed earlier than 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock. It's okay to go to bed at 9 o'clock and I would still get a healthy amount of sleep, right? So the class came around. I signed up for the class that happened on Sunday. We had our orientation, and in the orientation, they had mentioned that, okay, we're going to be working. We're not going to be meeting on Sundays. We're going to be meeting 3 days a week, and they gave us the different time choices. Now, the time choices didn't look that great for me because I'm thinking about my work schedule. The other ones were, in the time zone. I'm in California. It's a 7 a.m. in the morning, which means 4 a.m. my time. And so I had figured out, okay, I'm going to put on my work schedule that I'm out of the office at this time. I'm going to start doing the 3 p.m. because that was 7 p.m. and on the East Coast, right? So I was set on that, like, boom, I'm going to be joining at like 3:30 or something like that. It was in the afternoon. It was not that early time in the morning. And so I'm in the bed this morning and I get a text, and it's Sister Nadia, and she was like, the code for the Zoom room is this, right? And I saw it, and something in me just said, you gotta get up, right? You gotta get up. And I was just like, I didn't prepare myself to get up at this time. But at that time, I was awake because the alarm hadn't gone off. And the text, I keep my phone on silent. So it was like I woke up naturally even before the text. And I was still just laying there like, roll over, go back to sleep. Then the text came in, lighted up my phone. And I was like, okay, well, who would be texting me at this time? So then I saw her on there. And even still after that, my mind went to, I said I'm going to do it in the afternoon. Then the third hit was I had to go to the bathroom. So it's like at that point, I had to go to the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror. And the moment I got up, looked myself in the mirror, it was like, at this point, Camila, you are choosing to be flat out disobedient if you don't get on this call this morning. And it was at that point I was like, okay, I surrender. Now, multiple moments that I could have just like, yeah, but it was at that third moment where I'm looking at myself and I'm hearing the dialogue that says, you've been asking for this. You said you wanted to get better at this Quran. You said that this is what you wanted to do. You said that you wanted to see how this revelation would expand you and your life. Hear it, get up. We tried to get you ready months in advance on how to get yourself up at this time, but you didn't listen. And I didn't. It was over and over again. It wasn't like it was a thought one time and it went away. It was a constant thought, like, yeah, okay, when is that day? When am I gonna start getting up at that 4:30? When am I gonna didn't do it. Didn't do it. Months. Didn't do it. Months. Ramadan was easy too, because it was like it wasn't a 4 a.m. get up. And then this day hit. And it was in that in moments like that where you always have to remember what is the thing that you have asked for and the intention that you set for yourself, that you have to believe that what it is that you're looking for is going to grow something bigger and greater. So it was at that moment, it's like, okay, do you have faith in what it is that you're trying to do for yourself? Like, you're not doing me any favors. You doing yourself the favor. Like, this is for you. This is for your life. It's like, get up. This is that time. And I was able to cruise through the day today. Like, I was nervous. Like, okay, is this going to be a tough day to get rest? No. Why? Because there are other parts of me that were being fed in this moment. This was the opportunity for me to keep my word to myself. This was the opportunity to say, okay, Allah is making a way for you to get the thing that you asked for. And we were preparing you the entire time to do this, right? So there are moments where we have to think about, like, we want our faith to be expanded. Yes, there's sacrifice involved, but not the kind of sacrifice that this society has been feeding to us about what it means to sacrifice a thing. A sacrifice is to gain. To sacrifice a thing is to gain. It is not to lose. It's like, what is more important? What is more important? You know, I mean, we see these different moments, you know, with Prophet Musa, with Abraham, with all of these different moments around the ideal of sacrifice. And it's like, in that moment, you ask yourself, what is most important? Because this small step, this choosing to do an act, to commit to a thing, is going to give birth to something so much bigger and greater. Are you willing to go that way? Are you willing to have that level of faith? Because if you're willing to have that level of faith, what could you imagine that is going to grow from it? That is going to be so deeply rooted, it'll be difficult for you to pull it up. Like, it is so ingrained into yourself, into your spirit, and into the way that you move and who you are. It's a beautiful opportunity. And so I want to encourage us to, you know, those small suggestions, those mustard seed size suggestions that come across our spirit, that we hear in the middle of the night, when it's like you wake up at a time that is opportune and ideal for tahajjud. Ideal. But you're thinking about the later job. Now, you know, I'm not one to be a fearmonger, and this is not a fearmonger post, what I'm about to say. But I mean, work with me here. Like, you wake up at this time for the tahajjud prayer. It's an opportunity, even if you just offer 2 rakats, even if you just get up and just say that, you know, say Ayatul Kursi. Like, this, it was that moment. Like, and in that moment, maybe you don't return to your body in that moment. Like, that was you wanted some more sleep. Okay. But what if in that moment, when you were woken, not by an alarm, by nothing else, but you woke up, you clearly awake. It's not like this, you know, I turned over and I'm done. No, like, your eyes open, you laying there. You laying there for a good little minute. It's like, Do you get up? Do you take this moment when you know that this is where the angels are closest to the earth? This is that moment where is it who is mentioning Allah's name in this moment? That it's an opportunity to get this expansive, beautiful blessing? Or are you thinking about, oh no, I got to get enough sleep for work? How do we challenge the opportunity? Something so small that could become something huge. How do we have faith in something so small? Even if it means like when you wake up and you just say Al-Fatiha while you're laying there and then you just go back to sleep. But just the fact that you were awakened in that moment and the first thing on your mind is to give a sense of praise. It's an opportunity. And that one moment can grow something so big for your life. So huge. Yeah. It's those kind of moments for me that even when the challenges show up, even when the tests make themselves, big and in the moment, that moment is not the thing that knocks you over, because that faith that you've planted in yourself is so rooted that that challenge is okay. So there's a challenge, but I also know who my Lord is. I'm very clear who Allah is. And that clarity is what's allowing me. Yeah, I feel it. It's a challenge, but at the same time, Allah is always God. Always. In all ways. Like it's just all the time. And so those moments, I want us to think about that small thing, that small effort, that small, ritual, because I don't think there's a such thing as anything really small, but, it's just the simple task, that simple moment. I say, well, I'm just going to say an attribute every day, just one attribute each day, what that would do to change your life daily. Just one attribute each day. Boom. This is the attribute I'm focusing on Monday. This is the one I'm focusing on Tuesday. Just every day, like, let's choose an attribute and see how that changes, how that seed grows into something huge in your heart, in your spirit, in your mind, in your life. What does that look like? Yeah. So with that, I'm calling you man back into the room.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Excellent. Miss Mustard Seed. So we're gonna have to start putting butterflies on a mustard plant. Let's do it. Hey, why not, right?
Why not?
We're free to create as it comes to mind. Make our own symbolism. To hold on to the knowledge that is critical to us, and it's absolutely positive. I'm gonna drop this and move out.
Okay.
The crab. We really need to get the symbolic wisdom in that.
Okay.
Also, but we'll touch on that.
Okay.
Another time. So
all right.
File that under to be addressed later.
Okay.
Thank you as always, sweetheart. So let's go. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Alhamdulillah, today, let me get my backup here. Today, I'm touching on the, I don't know, what did I say my subject was? What is my subject? The time and what must be done. I see some OGs on the line. Khalika Mims, that's one I know would be there. I'd be surprised if Anthony Abdul Haq and the crew that they're representing, and so many other names here. You might remember that from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. May Allah forgive his shortcomings and grant him entry into the paradise. Yeah, that was one of the big lines in the early 70s when some of us, like myself, was coming in, the time and what must be done, right? And so I wanted to speak about that today because there's so many unsettling headlines. Yeah, I mean, their headlines is just, and I really have to say, brother and sister, it's like, don't don't let this world in its presentation of information. Uh, it's just it's a scare tactic on the larger scheme of things. In the larger scheme of things, it's about keeping us afraid, unsettled, anxious. I think the woman's name, don't hold me to this, but I think her name is Naomi Klein. Could be. But either she has the shock doctrine or something. Look, try to mix those names up. You'll find it's the shock something, and I believe Naomi is in her name, and that's very important. I don't know if you can still find this piece called the century of the self, the century of the self. That's an important one. And also the other one is the power of nightmares. The power of nightmares. All of this are things for me in my background of whatever this like material that we came across and addressed. I don't know. It could be 15 years ago. It doesn't matter. I say it doesn't matter. The idea is truth has a long shelf life, right? So it's just so very important to be in charge of your own self, to be in control of your own self, to manage your own sensibilities, sensitivities, your own emotions, to not be reflexive and reactive to whatever somebody else can put, because then you become like Pavlov's dog. Pavlov's dog is the one where they talked about operant conditioning or something like that. That type of language, where the dog and the food and the bell. And so the dog would salivate because food would come when the bell rang, or whatever. So then it only took ringing the bell to get the dog to salivate, right? Because they had been conditioned to respond in a certain way. There's a reason Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, he said for every homonym there's a synonym. For every homonym there's a synonym. This is the English language, right? So then you have heard, right? Have you heard about what so and so is doing? Have you heard this? Have you heard that? There's heard, Heard, and there's heard, Herd, right? And so they manipulate us by putting stuff in our ears. Of course, the eyes is a part of it, but the point is, you hear. Did you hear this? Did you hear that? And then we, by word of mouth, we pass it on, passing on what we heard, right? And then now we're all a herd. So the herd gets controlled by the kinds of sound that is in the hands of the people who control the sound making machinery, whether it be social media, the news on its different fronts, on its different platforms. All of that is a herd. The Imam said someone wants to dominate the herd. If they want the herd to go left, then they'll shoot a shot to the right. If they want the herd to go right, then they'll shoot a shot to the left. Pow on the left, then the herd goes running that way. Then he wants to go the other way, pow, then the herd goes running the other way. So the herd is under control of the one who is mastering their sensibilities, sensitivities, fears, anxieties, etc. So you have to be in full possession of your own sensibilities, your own sensitivities, and not reactive. And those people is like, man, those people that they're constantly running to you with, yeah, did you see that? Yeah, let me show you this. It's like, and it's all about feeding and transferring and passing on the information that the masters of the herd want to manipulate as a direction for the herd themselves. So be cautious of that. I mean, I'll just tell you the image that I have in mind is like somebody's been set on fire, and now they're running towards you, right? They've been set on fire, and now they're running towards you. It's like, wait, back up. So when they come running with them, and Trump said, and then the so and so is doing that, and so and so. No. I'm not trying to burn up with all that. There is a life besides what is in social media, what's on Facebook and what's on YouTube. There is a life, there's a reality to it, and we want to strive to live inside of that reality. And that's a life that's transcendent to what's being concocted and constructed for us to believe is the reality. The Wizard of Oz is behind the curtain, pumping the pumps and turning the wheels and creating the illusions that we want. It's very important. Now, there's a reality behind all of these things. That is, everything that's being said and everything that's being shown to us is not quote unquote necessarily the reality, even if it's twisting the facts in a way to how can you say, to construct the narrative that one side wants to say, okay, yes, this happened, but this is why. Yes, this happened, but that is why. Okay, you still have to have your autonomy. You still have to have the freedom and capacity to think and reason with and about whatever it is being presented to you. So now you're making a human decision. You're making a decision based on knowledge. Okay, so it's for that reason that I'm sensitive to individuals just not being overwhelmed by the headlines. I put it, that's a simple way. The headlines are a metaphor for the atmosphere that's being projected, or that we're being surrounded by. And so to that end, I want to give an understanding, a concept, an idea that I want us to have in mind. So when I say the time and what must be done, putting all of what I just said into a package of, okay, there's a lot of clouds, there's a lot of dark clouds out there. There's some smoke on the horizon, which means that there may be a fire. And based on the direction of the wind, it could be coming our way. Okay, so all those represent possibilities. There are some very real things in the context of the evolution of society itself. Let me just tap into it this way, and that is, let's see here. Okay. I'll get to this other point. That's all right. Yeah. Go to my screen and seen. Let's see. All right. So I got so many things open on my desktop. I'm sorry. I need to close that out. All right. Now we're together. So I was talking about smoke, fire, clouds. And so I was saying, let me cover this Carter G. Woodson statement first, because this covers all for this time. It would cover all from the first time that the current president was the president in 2016. It covered. This is for all time. This is Carter G. Woodson, the author of The Miseducation of the Negro and the establisher of Negro History Week and all the rest of that. His statement, he said, history shows that it does not matter who is in power or what revolutionary forces take over the government. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end than they had in the beginning. Listen, it's Groundhog Day for Black people. Bilalians, of course, my preference. You know that movie Groundhog Day, where dude had to keep going through the same thing every day, etc., until he got it figured out, right? Well, that's our story. That's how we keep going through the same thing. We need a president. We need a Democrat. We need a Black president. Then we get that. Nothing changes, right? For us. Why? Because it doesn't matter who's in power. The ones who haven't learned to do for themselves and are continuing to depend solely on others in order to attain those things, they have no more in the end than they did at the beginning. So yes, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had it right, but he wasn't the first one to say that. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad he said, do for self. You have to do for self. That is in actuality the American way. But if a people, it's like we have to acknowledge the fact, Bilalians, we can't depend on each other. We can't depend on unfortunately, you can't depend on each other. So because we can't depend on each other, that's what has to change. But at the same time, because we can't, then we reach out, we look out, we seek for other sources of power and help that's other than us, and everybody else is looking out for themselves. But now there's a part of the cumulative problem that I'm approaching right now. That is a part of the problem. But it's human nature, but it's in the nature of the circumstances as they are right now. There is a grand solution to it, but that grand solution is it's there. It's an ideal. It's a value. It's something to be pursued. But at the same time, by the nature of the political times, the economic times, etc., it's like it's much more, quote unquote, difficult to rely on, and it should be incorporated as a value system, like the mustard seed was just spoken of. It should be buried, planted deep inside of us and held onto as a source of motivation and as a source of stability. The higher aspirations for Muslims, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٍ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ. That ummah incorporates everybody, incorporates everything that a world needs and that individuals require, societies and families. Ummah covers all of that. And so the high aspiration for the actualization of Ummah should never be lost from the hearts, minds, spirits of Muslims, right? Now, trust in Allah and tie your camel, right? Trust in Allah and tie your camel. So that mustard seed commentary that I just gave in terms of holding minkum ummah, having that deeply embedded in our self, in our soul, hold on to it, never let it go. In the interim, and along with that taqullah, believe in Allah, tawakkal Allah, it says, trust in Allah, aqlaha is, and tie her, right? He was talking about telling a man about his camel. Aql is the intellect in there. Use your intellect to apply. You want things to happen, and you know that nothing's going to happen except as Allah wills. So you trust in Allah. Tawakkal Allah. Put your trust in Allah, wa aqluha. But then also tie your camel, right? Do both at the same time. So aqlaha is telling you, use your intellect. And that's big for this time right now, and what we're saying. You have to use your intellect. Stop depending on hoping for goodwill from the White House. Stop hoping for goodwill from the State House. Aspire to it, want it, have it. It should be. However, that is not the source for us as Muslims, for sure. That is not the place that we look to for the help of our life. It is a societal institution that has its obligation to serve the people, and we have an obligation to do what we can to quote unquote ensure, encourage, etc., that leadership to fulfill its civil responsibility in service to all the people that come under their governance in this. So yes, we have to have people who, that's your post. Do that. That's what you do. That should be the thing, etc., etc. So that's one among many things that we should and have to do. So that's the tying a part of the tying your camel aspect of it. Hold the aspiration, have that, want to realize in the world what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see realized in the world. In order to do that, the battle is on many fronts. So you have people who have to do it through the educational side, or do it, or press the point of value that al-Islam, that Allah intends for humanity. You have to press that point in the halls of education, in the name of Allah, not in the name of the religion per se, but in the name of Allah's will for humanity in that dimension, education. We have to do the same thing for culture. We have to do the same thing for governance. We have to do the same thing for economics and business, etc. All of these things, we have to do these things to line these things up with Allah's will. And everybody with their own potential, their own predisposition, their own capability has to, how can you say, align themselves and assign themselves. Okay, well, look, this is my post. I'm on the education post. I'm on the culture post. I'm on the economic post. I'm on the whatever, the religious ritual life post. I'm on the political post. Get on your post and do that in the name of Allah, seeking to realize in the world what Allah would have each of those institutions to become. That's the job, okay? And not look for the White House got to do everything. Whoever's the president got to do everything. Stop it. That's not God's design. And that should also tell us that's one of the reasons that it don't work. That ain't what God expects to do the job. Just think about that. I mean, that's kind of a light bulb moment for me, actually. It's like, you know what? We keep trying to get the White House to do what God ain't even asking the White House to do. That's a bumper sticker. Stop asking the White House to do what God ain't even asking the White House to do. What is the thinking that if the White House says okay, and everything's going to be okay? Oh, man, can't you hear the slaves still talking in that? Okay. Yeah, work with that one. Work with that one. Spread the word on that one. It's like, come on, let's get off of that. All right. Let me see. I've got my pages here. All right. So I'm going to have to exit full screen because my page is not moving the way I want it to move. Let's see. Okay, good. All right, so I got to do it this way. All right, so we covered this dimension of it right here. I'm gonna go ahead and tick it down live while we do, so I can feel the movement and cover. So we got that. Now here's something I want to bring to mind, and that is this woman, Whitney Webb, and this the link. It's a YouTube title. This is the actual title of the link that I'm speaking to and from. Said the elites will create a new class of slaves. Now she's not a friend and a fan of BlackRock. BlackRock is a giant hedge fund, what have you, one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest in the world. So greatly suspect on her ticket, and I'm not mad. I'm saying some things that she said because I agree with some things that she said. BlackRock's next plans will shock you. Okay, so you can look that up. Here's what I want to focus on. Brother and sister, society evolves. Whether we evolve with it or not, whether we stay in touch with the movement or we get left behind. Society evolves. This is very important to understand. There's an old book just in terms of whatever, megatrends. Megatrends. And most of these books that are this old and the like, it's a very important book to understand for sure, conceptually, as to what it says about evolving society. We're good since we're on that track. Megatrends, I think his name is Nesbitt or Nesmith. No, it's Nesbitt. I think it's Nesbitt. Point is megatrends. So at that time it was talking about how everything is evolving and movement. You all have heard, or most of you who are on this line, you would know about future shock, right? His name escapes me right now. The third wave, Toffler, Alvin Toffler. Alvin Toffler, third wave, yeah, third wave, future shock, and I can't think of the third one. That is the one that gave us the agricultural information. Pardon me, the agricultural, industrial, and information ages. So it talks about that cycle, right? So I want to get these three books in your mind. So I said mega trends. Then I mentioned also future shock, and I said future shock, but just the whole idea of Alvin Toffler's. I think he had basically like three books. So megatrends, and then more importantly, Alvin Toffler, the author, is more important. And then Dr. Batra, Batra, Ravi Batra, Ravi, and this the great, I think it's called the Great Depression of 1990. The Great Depression of 1990. Just go with Dr. Batra. 1990 is in the title, but I believe it says the Great Depression of 1990. And here's the thing. This goes right with what I'm trying to get to. It's like with AI now, you can find that, like these books right now. I would be totally surprised if you could not find them online in a PDF form, right? I don't know what it's called, portable document format, but just PDF, right? So find those books, search and find. You can find in PDF, Megatrends, Alvin Toffler, and The Great Depression of 1990. Those three books. I'm gonna put you on something else because this is what I'm talking about. Notebook LM. Notebook LM. This is all AI stuff that I'm mentioning to you right now. It's like this is a part of what's making institutional education. Those of you in college, stay in college. I'm not talking about dropping out. I'm not telling you that. Okay, don't want to scare you, don't want to disappoint you, etc. But just got to know the reality. 30 years and minimum 35 years ago, when much of my manual study was very, mashallah, no boast, profound. I mean, I was a reader, mashallah. And the by hand kind of manual note taking and mixing and meshing and it's like, yeah. So it's like doing those kinds of things was the kind of things you had to do to really get a deeper understanding of matters. But the technology now has changed things so much so that, and that's what technology is supposed to do. It's supposed to be labor-saving, time-saving devices, so you can use that potential for something else, right? So whatever, sickles, hammers, lawnmowers, nails. These are all tools these are labor-saving, time-saving devices, and that's what it is with all inventions and all different kinds of utilities that are the pencil. All of those things are things that save time and effort and energy and labor, blah, blah. All right. So now you can find those. This is, so what I'm talking about is that university education, college education, et cetera, in light of all the information that's available and in the formats that you're able to get them, and you don't have to spend 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 12 years to do that. And again, it's just a fact. I mean, those who are in college, alhamdulillah, stay in college, stay at universities, get what the universities can bring to you, because there's certain credentials you can't get without going through certain institutions. So I want to make sure I'm not putting out, be clear, no blanket, turn on, tune in, drop out kind of thing. No. Uh, but for those of us who are not, there are these systems, these AIs that are available, and they're coming anyway. And the greater a person is able to adopt, meaning learn how to use, then those are the people that are advancing with the society as it moves on in its transformation, right? The society is evolving anyway. It's the nature of society to evolve. God says he created us growing from the earth gradually like a plant. So society grows and evolves as well, right? Isn't it interesting that they used to call these big industry buildings and these big industry factory operations, used to call them plants, okay? So the idea that we're getting to is evolution is taking place anyway. Societal evolution takes place, and societal evolution takes place upon innovation. Societal evolution takes place upon innovation. Societal evolution takes place upon innovation. Innovation is the advancement of technology. The bicycle is technology. Roller skates, technology. I'm just trying to get you to be there. It's like anything that does something newer, faster, better. The printing press, obvious, advancing of technology. All right, so just go through the whole history. Again, lawnmowers. How many of us remember the the bladed circular lawnmowers, and you had to put your back into it, right? Then the power mowers. Now you got so many other things right now. Everyone, but way back in the day, the sickle, that was technology. Okay. All right. So technology goes on. Society moves. Make a note, please. The society moves by innovation and imitation. I can't remember right now the gentleman who has this lecture that covers all this. Innovation and imitation. Basically, society is 5% innovation and 95% imitation. The society evolves upon the development of a new technology and the adoption of that new technology, and then people are able to do more things faster, right? So that's called scaling, right? People are more able to scale. They can do more faster than whatever the technology or the absence of technology was the case before that, right? So that's the way it moves. So if you don't move with technology, then you get left behind. So that has to do with the whole idea about first world, second world, third world. I don't know exactly what the detail is, but it seems to me that the first world, second world, third world has to do with which age are you still in? Are you in the agricultural age, in the way that your life operates and the dependency of your life? Then you're probably in the third world, right? Are you still locked into like smokestack type industry? Are you still in those kind of whatever oil and metal hardware things in order to get your processes done? Then you're probably in the second world, right? And so going on is, if you are more operating from the basis of information, knowledge, and knowledge technology, and utilizing that knowledge more so than and you're less dependent on the prior two, then you're probably a first world nation. Now, that defining could be old, and it could be inaccurate, but it works for me. Because when you go to a third world, it's more agricultural. The second world, it has more. They're still doing these things with much more of their, let's call it their backs and manpower, those kinds of things. Others are using technology and less dependent on manpower to do it. And that's where we are in the world right now. We're in that phase where it's it's a graduation, an elevation, an evolution of the information age. Now it's the information age. I'm going to just say it for rhetorical purposes. It's the information age squared, right? AI technology, AI agents. The conversation now is about AI agents just taking over everybody's anything that is reducible to an application, anything for which you can take the process and put it into an algorithm and then feed it into a digitized system, a computer, whatever technology, then you don't need the person that was doing that manually before. Yes, so legal whatever doctrines and legal applications, etc., legal functions, right? All of the computational functions, anything that can be reduced to a computer, anything that can be digitized, anything for which you can devise an algorithm for, then you can digitize it, and then whoever and whatever was doing that before is just like the assembly line in automobiles, right? The assembly line. It used to be Joe and Bill and Roger. They were the ones that, the car moves down the line and they hammer it on and screw it on and da 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 da. Okay, here comes the robots, right? And then it gets deeper than the robots. Okay, the world is moving on. The world is moving on, and in the world that we live in, where private property is what it's all about, and now bring in the White House, the current White House, and who's in charge up there, and who's the main thing. You're in a world now where the business of America is business, and despite all the drama and kaflama, some people say, that's going on right now. Trust, the bottom line is the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line. What's going to be done is what is, quote unquote, thought to be best for business, right? And if taking away jobs from people that eat and sleep and get ill and have babies and have human problems, if we can take them off of the rolls and get our operation going on 24 hours a day more profitably and in a deflationary way, meaning technology has a tendency to reduce the amount of time necessary to do something and reduce also the cost to do that same thing. It's like it's the businessman's best of both worlds. I don't have to deal with these human beings. I don't have to wait on time. I can run it for 24 hours a day and I can do it for less. Let's go. Let's do that. That's the world that we are in. That's the world that the capital holders and that the developers of the world, that's the world that they want. What happens to the people who can't keep up? Hey, you can't keep up, then lay down. That's the world that we're in. That's the world we're in right now. And if we don't feel it right now, we will feel it much more sooner than we think. So let me cover this little point here, where this inside of her talk, this is a comment that she makes. She says, an educated, technocratic, scientific elite. These are the people. These are the Elon Musk that's in the White House. You think about Donald Trump, but now you think about Elon Musk. His bumper sticker or whatever. Some meme said, "We didn't elect Elon. It don't matter if you didn't elect Elon. The president said, go do what you can do," and that's what he's doing, right? And so the rest of you look up this thing, the PayPal. I think it's called the PayPal Mafia. Look that up. These are the people that are surrounding the current president. And in the book, The Great Depression of 1990, he talks about a fourfold cycle. Where the Alvin Toffler talks about the agriculture, industrial, information. Megatrends talks about all the other trends as relates to high tech, high touch, and different stuff like that. So he was dealing with that. The 1990, the Great Depression of 1990, it talks about a class, a cycle, 4 cycles that go through classes of people. You have the laborers, you have the warriors, you have the intellectuals, and you have the acquisitors. The laborers, won't go through the detail. The laborers, the warriors, the intellectuals, and the acquisitors, right? And these are cycles that go on until it gets maxed out in the acquisitor cum laborer age, meaning that there's so much money at the top, everything is so lopsided, everything is so imbalanced that society itself just simply crashes. And that society that suffered that crash after going up through all these cycles is back at the level of the laborer, the very primitive state of thing, that kind of Book of Eli world, that the what's called post-apocalyptic dystopian world. Brother and sister, what was that thing with Matt Damon in it? Area 9 or Section 9, where people turn into lobsters or something. I don't know. It's sad, but it's the reality. The reality, we become so separated in the nature of our classes that one is like literally like an alien, right? Alien on both sides. One is so high above, they're not even like normal human beings, and others so low, they're also not even like human beings. But there's nothing in the middle. That's the world. That's the world that is evolving, growing, with that we're in right. And some are feeling it absolutely. And brother and sister, you drive in your city, you go around in your city. When you see those tent cities in the hood and nobody is making any moves to, like, how can we fix this? How can we change this? How can we eliminate this? It's like there are those that say, well, shoot, as long ain't nobody complaining, as long nobody's not literally hurting nobody, okay, well, that's just their life. Their life is just, they just put up a tent on the sidewalk and live there, right? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So that's evidence. It's like I just use example. It's like, if a person gets a pimple, if you will, on their face. I'm not talking acne per se, but it's like me. If I eat too many sweets at some point, somewhere down the line, a bump gonna come up somewhere, and that bump said, "You see, you've been eating too many sweets. There you go. Not drinking enough water. Blah blah." Okay, that's right. Okay, but look at a city. Look at a zip code. And you what you're seeing when you see more of what I just described, you're seeing a city that's sick. It is sick in that way, right? And so many in our communities, I've come to see it, come to recognize it, and I have to come to call it. We are business killers. We are business killers. That disease that causes pilfering and loitering and blight, it killed. A business cannot survive. These people stand around in front of your doors, in front of your business operation. Ain't nobody coming down there. Ain't nobody coming through there. That's a sickness that kills the district, that kills the city. And so then all the rest of it tumbles right behind that. The roads, the streets are all messed up. The people are dumping garbage in there. I'm sorry. It's just, it's the reality. All of us, we can read off what I'm saying right now. Yeah. I don't care what city you're in. If you where we are, you see what I'm describing. Let's move on. So let me say from the side of those. Okay, if you get what we're saying, then you have to make moves, and you have to develop yourself, and you have to strengthen yourself, and you have to develop your wherewithal to be able to have more strength to make whatever and however small of a difference in this state of affairs as you can. It's like no one of us can solve the whole thing, but each one of us can make a contribution. First elevation and first improvement is yourself. We have to improve, develop, evolve, empower ourselves on all levels. On all levels. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, I'm doing what I know I should be doing, etc. Okay, that's fine. And then if you are in a position to find others who have the same disposition, you have to lock arms. You have to tighten up. You have to team up, make that happen. Let's see if we can work through and finish this. So this is what's coming. So the technology is evolving. The technology is not waiting for us to catch up. It's not gonna stop. It's not no sense in railing against the machine. No sense. Look at what they're doing now. By the time they do that, all is gonna stop it. Stop it. Adopt it. Learn its use. Learn its value. Because the answer is adapt or die in the evolution of everything. If you don't keep up with the evolving society that you're in, then you're going to be left behind in that society. So let's go back to her quote. An educated, technocratic, scientific elite, and there are some thinkers like Silicon Valley Eric Schmidt, for example, who wrote a book on AI with Henry Kissinger. Now that tells you, I believe Henry Kissinger is dead now, but that tells you something right there. Even when Henry Kissinger was around, they were already writing books about AI. And in this book, she says, essentially they say that there's going to be this sort of future brought about by AI, where there will be a class of people who understand how AI works, that program and maintain it, like those that are in the White House now, that program and maintain it, and then there will be the underclass, right? Really, they don't say underclass, but I would say that, of people upon whom AI acts. Meaning, there are things that AI is going to do, and the people to be affected are the people who are not knowing how to operate, not knowing how to program it, not knowing how to maintain it, but they are dependent on it. So these are people that upon whom AI acts, who can't understand what AI is doing to them, and eventually, because of their dependence on AI, will become cognitively diminished, dumber, stupider, less intelligent. They will become cognitively diminished and mentally unable, essentially, to make decisions for themselves without AI's help. Another one, Marshall McLuhan, who's famous for the saying, the medium is the message. The medium is the message. See, the language is what? What you don't use, you lose. What you don't use, you lose. Mashallah, guilty. All right. We have these cell phones, right? Now all we have to do is call Joe Blow, whatever the case may be. And then the number comes up. It used to be you had a little black book or a big brown book. I'm thinking about mine. Well, look, it's like a little small with all these numbers, and you flip, and you find somebody's number, right? And then you read the number. That not even I'm doing like this, but no, not even type it out. You had the roto dial. Then you finally got to do. And we thought that was really advanced right there. No more roto dial or rotary dial. Okay, so the point is, what you don't use, you lose, right? So this is why they call smartphones. Okay, the phone is smart, but the people are getting dumber because of the smartphone, right? So this is the evolution of society, which if we don't keep up with those transformations, respecting and understanding how they are impacting us, let me remind the Muslims, Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Suleiman, in his book regarding towards an Islamic international relations, one of the ideas, in paraphrase, is that the leadership of the Islamic world, both the political and the religious leadership, they stopped talking to each other, and B, what happened is they didn't keep up with the new technology of their time. This is talking about centuries ago for Muslim. For us, with our data, it's around the 13th century that Muslims stopped innovating and stopped keeping up with technology, as we were the leaders of technology, as it was at all the time coming before that. Reference the 600 or 700 years of leadership that we saw in Al-Andalus by the Moors and the like, and then you had the great Abbasid period with the Islamic Golden Age. Something happened. We stopped innovating. We stopped advancing technologically, and so we fell off, and then the Europeans took off. So the idea, he says that they failed to recognize the impact of the new technology on the nature of the interaction, the quality of the institutions. We didn't understand how the new technology of that time, and the leadership wasn't telling us how the new technology of the time is going to impact our institutions, our educational institutions, our family institutions, our cultural institutions, our religious institutions. That knowledge was not given, and therein is where the Muslims fell off. Well, the same history is going to repeat itself right now if we are not aware of how this new technology is going to impact our families, is impacting our families, our religious communities, our businesses, our economic state, the state of our economic economy in the neighborhoods, etc. And brother and sister, it's like you already see the craziness in it. I mean, what the clear craziness is for me is like, what the hell? It's red lights and stoplights are optional, and it's so like it's a start to use an almost profane type term. It's like a crazy game that people. Let me see if I can blow through this stop sign. Let me see. I don't have to wait for the red light to change. It's just great. Okay, that's one thing. I can talk to you about people walking out of these stores, literally just taking stuff, especially on these mainstream stores in operation. Hood store is different, but I'm talking about like the Walgreens and CVS and these other kind. I mean, literally. The situation is such that, I mean, the businesses have been killed by people just walking in. I'm talking about, I'm not joking. I've seen it with my own eyes. They come in with shopping carts, those little handwritten, laundry type shopping carts. They come in, go into the store, put those large 12 packs of drinks on it, throw them in there, and walk right out the door with him. Just walk right out the door. And I'm looking, I said, they got a dude, he's supposed to be on security or what have you. He said, but you can't touch him. The law has got it such that you cannot touch those people. It will be taken as an assault on your part. And so these very businesses, there's one of them very clearly, doors are closed. It's like, how can you have a business in a community like that? How can you? Okay, but then again, if these people don't keep up with what's evolving, it's going to get worse wherever it is that we are, right? And so the businesses are being killed, tax bases is gone, the desperation of the people in our community is going to get more and more desperate, and so therefore all the other crime and everything, it's a self-reinforcing dynamic of circling the drain until the whole hood is dead. It's a graveyard, right? So it's like, that's what time it is. And we didn't need to know what's going to be done, what needs to be done. And I say again, for us as Muslims, we have to reconstruct and rehabilitate all of those things. But as a community and as a group of individuals who see the handwriting on the wall, I'm going to call it, you see the handwriting on the wall, not in some kind of costume, play like, artificial. I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. This is not playing like we kind of look like we're really civilized and we're really about something, but the basis of your behavior is still on that artificial Hollywood front type of presentation. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. No, it's got to be real, not just visually stunning. Oh man, look at that, man. Them brothers down, man. Them brothers tight, man. Let's look at that. Okay, where's the reality? Where's the reality? We have to play by the natural civilizational rules of what causes societies to go up, civilization to get built up, for civilization to evolve. And we also have to understand the rules that cause them to die, to decay and die. It's not a costume party. It's not a costume. It's not a dress rehearsal. Dressing up like whatever, you choose the country. And also looking like, yeah, we about business. We about saying, okay, let's see. right? So all of this is looking at and understanding like what we're facing is real, is going to happen anyway. One of the images that comes to mind right now. Okay, it's like you're in a disaster film. You're in a disaster film, and whatever the hero and some other individual who's, oh, help me, save me, etc. And the water is rising, the boat is turned upside down, and you got sharks circling, what have you, and time is running out, oxygen is running out, and it's like somebody has to do something. So I mean, we're at the hero's point where it said, listen, if you want to survive, you got to do exactly what I say, right? I want us to understand what Allah has given us in al-Islam, what Allah has given us in the Quran, what Allah has given us in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there is a very special blessing that we've been given in Imam Wardadi Muhammad's elaboration of those two sources and how they are to be applied in this world now. I know it's another conversation to be had. Well, the Imam brought this and what happened to that? The Imam brought that and what happened to this? The Imam, yeah, what happened to it was us. That's what happened to it. It's like the Imam said, the medicine is only good if you take it. If the doctor gives you a prescription and you don't take the prescription, you don't turn around and blame the doctor. I think that's enough for right now. Let me cover this point. Ray Dalio, somebody to be looked into. He talks about a part of the decay, a part of the problem that is happening, that will continue to happen in the world, such as it is right now. One of the things, based on the impact of AI, he's saying that when more people require support, back up to the slave statement, she said, where Whitney Webb says that because of their dependence on AI, will become cognitively diminished and mentally unable, essentially, to make decisions for themselves without AI's help. So he's saying that there are more people who will require support, that kind of support, but then also financial support like Social Security and those kinds of things that are designed to pay those people who worked for a lifetime and now getting their money from what's being put into Social Security system by those who are employed. So now you got less being, Social Security is bankrupt fundamentally, but it's on the top of the chopping block right now and big concerns around it. The idea is that what Social Security, the people who work, you put money in Social Security. When you retire, then you take money out of Social Security. What gets money into Social Security? People who are working. So, but if there's no jobs here, then there's no more money being put in Social Security. So then people who are going out, now they're looking for their money from Social Security, but there's no money in there because nobody had a job in order to build up the Social Security itself. And so this is what he's saying. He's saying that more people requiring support, looking to Social Security and other kind of supports from the government agencies. But now there are fewer people generating income, and this aggravates social tensions, right? You see it right now. And then also, when you look at the evolution of this technology that we've been talking about, combined with technology replacing labor, which we've talked about, the demographic stress, which we've just talked about, could widen gaps and heighten conflict between economic classes and age groups. No, don't touch my stuff. No, don't touch my stuff. Take their stuff. No, take their stuff. Now the tension. And then when you get the wizard making it's the whites against the blacks. That's the game. That's the game for the suckers. That's the game for the suckers. It's like, we don't white people, them old black people. It's Sly Stone, right? Don't call me nigga, whitey. That kind. But that's the game. And the what it says. I think it's either Once Upon a Time in New York or Gangs of New York. I think it's Gangs of New York, where during the height of the tension that was coming up in that time at the turn of the century in quote unquote New York, it says that he said we don't have to worry about the poor. We don't have to worry about the poor because we can always get one half of the poor to kill the other half. We can always get one half of the poor to kill the other half. You got to understand that there are people who are aliens to their humanity in such a way where that makes sense to them. That's a useful strategy for them. And it will work as long as they deal with us not as human beings. If we consider ourselves among that class as on the chopping block, and I'm close enough to it to feel demographically close to it. The point is that they will use that strategy because they don't count us as humans. All right. They're aliens who look at other humans as not human. And so that's what we're facing in the time as it stands right now. So the best I can say is come more and more and more into the knowledges of Al-Islam, into how those knowledges translate into solutions for real world problems, and advance yourself because there's advancement to be made, advancement to be had, achievements to be accomplished. The universe is still the same universe. Your nature is still the same nature. God is still the same God. And so it's like, what's different? I mean, come on now. Your whole world of possibilities cannot center upon and orbit around who's in the White House. That's a problem. If you're in that unconsciously, and that's the problem right there. It's like my world of possibilities orbits around whoever's in the White House. That's a GD shame. So flip that and flip it for whoever it needs to be flipped for. I'm going to check out of my situation right now and call Haja, as she says, back into the room. Let's close this out. Let's see. All right, there you are.
Yeah, here I am.
Daddy finger, where are you? Right on time. What's going on, sweetheart? Let me see. I need to go back and look at these comments in the chat. Tick them down. You got any comments? Anything you want to share?
I mean, you covered it. I mean, we put more trust in who's in what seat other than really paying attention to that, like understanding that Allah is truly in control and how we react to a thing as opposed to how we respond to a thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's clear, very clear.
Alhamdulillah. Well, that's going to be it for us today, y'all. Thank you for being with us, spending this time with us. Any good word, just spread it. Just spread it, because there's a lot to be done, and the clock is definitely ticking.
Ameen.
All right. Everybody have a great day, great evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.